Hello everyone, and welcome to my top 5 predictions for Pokemon cards 2024. We're in July now. I'm a little bit late with this video. I wasn't going to make it actually. That's the deal. Sometimes I make these long form videos where I blah, blah, blah. I talk a lot, and they typically don't do very well. But I was looking at my metrics the other day. You guys actually like it when I talk about this kind of stuff. So I'll make this video. If you really want more videos like this, if you find it entertaining, watch to the end and I'll make more of them, okay? So, that is the intro. Join us for our live stream. By the way, we stream live every single day, all 7 days of the week, for about 5 hours a day. That's our bread and butter. That's what we actually do. We're a daily live stream, 5 hours. It's like a couple hours for the daytime, some for the nighttime, usually about 5 hours total. That's all 7 days of the week, and we open a ton of Pokemon cards. As you know, we get a lot of shorts with a lot of cool stuff in them. That's because we open so much. So that's what we really do, but here we are. I'm talking to you guys, and we're going to talk about the Pokemon card market. 2024 is an interesting year. They've all been interesting years. I've been doing this nonstop for 5 years now, and I have some perspective as a result of that, right? Like when I started, Unified Minds had just come out is when I started, and so that was a while ago. That was before Sword and Shield even. That was Sun and Moon Unified Minds, and it was just before Pokemon blew up. So I got a great perspective. I got to see the big Logan Paul, explosion, and now we're all the way out in 2024. We're deep into Scarlet Violet, and I got a lot to say, obviously. We usually talk about this in the actual live stream, but it's never so concise. It's always just sort of like, I'm opening someone's cards going, right? But now we can be concise. So I got my little notes here. Let's take a look at my notes. So it's a, top 5 predictions, but I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't truly put it in a top 5 list, but you're going to like this. So this is card number 2. We're in a very different environment than 2019 and 2021. So my first thoughts about the Pokemon market in 2024 is that things are very, very different. If you've been around for a long time, you know that. What are the big changes? Well, inflation. So the government printed up a bunch of money and gave it out for free during COVID, and everyone was trapped inside. And as a result of that money printing, not just money printing, but money borrowing too. So a lot of people don't understand that causes inflation as well. So the government printed a lot of money and handed it out to people, and they bought stuff with it. And then that money trickles up actually to the wealthy, and they buy houses and investments. But the people who have the means to buy expensive assets on a loan as well, they're getting loans at like 3%, 4%. And that also causes inflation, because when you can get money borrowed so cheaply, you buy more stuff with borrowed money. And borrowed money is the same as money. It's very similar to money printing, especially the lower that the interest rate is, the closer it is to just literal money printing, right? So it's kind of interesting. Banks can cause inflation. Inflation, we have a lot of it now. And this has caused the price of food to go way up. Rent is up. Houses are all like $250,000. Even the cheapest houses are like outrageous. I live in Missouri, right? So Missouri is known for maybe having cheaper cost of living and cheaper houses. Not anymore. They're also expensive now. It's ridiculous. So houses are so expensive. Food's expensive. Education's expensive. Your car's is expensive. Your insurance is expensive. How do you have money left over for a luxury good like collecting cards? Obviously, you don't need them. They're not emergency items. So cards kind of come, even if you think of them as an investment, you don't invest first. You take care of rent, food, water. You take care of that stuff first, right? So this affects the card market. 2019, 2021, it was a hot market because no inflation yet, but lots of free money. Okay, everyone has cards. Oh, this is a big one. So I wrote this note to myself. In 2019 and 2021, there was kind of this reawakening where everyone's like, oh man, Pokemon cards from the 1990s, the early 2000s. Everyone was going, I want to get back into the hobby. Guys like me, I'm 35 now. I was 30 when I started this channel. Isn't that crazy? So I'm 35 now. Guys like me want to get back in the hobby. Lots of nostalgia, genuine nostalgia, very important. But we're all wanting to get back in. Well, the difference is in 2024, we're all in now. Many of us have spent thousands and thousands of dollars. We're kind of looking at our collection. I assume this is happening. We're probably looking at our collection going, I got a lot already. I don't really need more. But not just that. Not only are we going, well, I've already spent $10,000 on Pokemon cards. I don't need more. Some people, I presume, are also saying, maybe I need to get rid of some of this. So the market, the market's going through like this product cycle where nobody had the product and they were just gobbling it up. Cheap money everywhere, no inflation. So they're gobbling up the Pokemon cards. Now we're getting on to the other side where it's kind of like the cards are now pushed up really high in price. and everyone's sitting on their collection going, oh man, I could use a new vehicle. Oh man, I could pay my medical bills. Oh man, rent is due. And so they've got lots of cards to sell, whereas in the past they didn't have that. So the market's being pushed with a lot of supply now, right? In the past, there was just a lot of demand. Now there's a lot of sellers on the market that didn't exist in the past. They exist now. So supply and demand is changing. Millions of cards are graded. So this is a big one. A lot of grading companies. One of the best grading companies, of course, Cardconomist grading, but lots of grading companies, just PSA's just pumping out tons of cards. What does that mean? That means in the slab market where people want to collect like gem mints or pristines or perfects or black labels, that number is exploding. There's just a lot more of them. Once again, it's a supply-demand situation. The supply is just exploding. It's going really, really up. Hoarding and speculating. So there wasn't that much hoarding and speculating in 2019. It was just at the beginning. Now there's a ton of it. So there's all these people going, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to make so much money in Pokemon cards. And they ran out here, and now when something comes out, the way people talk about it is like they're asking, is this it? Is this where I make the good money? Do I buy up all these particular cases? So the language about Pokemon cards have changed really toward what's going to make me money, what's going to make me rich. And, that kind of started in 2019 and 2021. But, man, we're in the thick of it now. That's all you hear now. Oh, Team Rocket, Pokemon's going to release Team Rocket set, and it's going to be so investable. So that's all you hear. Maybe I contributed to that a little bit. But, yeah, there's so many speculators with their wallets out. And so, yeah, it just feels like it's really, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like a dangerous place. Okay, and then there's overprinting. Pokemon cards are printed at a much higher capacity than they used to be. Pokemon spoke about opening a new facility for printing. It's really clear that they're printing a lot more. There's another note to this. Chinese, Korean cards are out, so those get printed as well. Indonesian, Thai cards, there's just a ton of cards. And then competition. So competition, when I mean that, competition for Pokemon, that's what I mean. And I'm referring to all these other card companies now. There's some two that really rose: the Weiss and the what's the other one? One Piece. So Weiss and One Piece give Pokemon a run for their money. Lorcana as well. You might argue Lorcana has affected them as well. Metazoo. Look out, Pokemon. Metazoo's the Pokemon killer. Metazoo's gone. All right. So that was topic number 2. Topic number 1 was you better watch, subscribe, and hang out with us in our live stream. Topic number 3, Scarlet Violet is a disaster. We're in the Scarlet Violet era. Yay! Scarlet Violet is, I think, the worst Pokemon generation I've ever seen. It's worse than any other generation. I stopped playing the video games at Black and White, but Black and White's okay, right? And then you have XY, and then you have Sun and Moon, and then right? But Scarlet Violet, I think, is the single worst Pokemon era I've ever witnessed. The Pokemon designs are cheesy and bad. There's no cool Pokemon, and there's very few cool Pokemon. Like somebody pointed out, the Salamence, what is it? The Ancient Salamence or whatever, right? Roaring Moon or something. And he just looks okay. He's just like a slightly different Salamence, big round wings or whatever. That's it. That's what's saving the game. You're a different version of Salamence. So I don't really know what the big cool Pokemon they designed for Scarlet Violet is. If anyone can find it, let me know. What's the Charizard of Scarlet Violet? It doesn't exist. Yeah, terrible Pokemon designs for Scarlet Violet is absolutely atrocious. And I kept thinking maybe like DLCs would change that, by the way. No, DLCs have not changed my mind on that. It's really disappointing. Bad gimmicks. Terrestrialization, I can barely say it. Remember, we had like VMAX Pokemon, pretty simple in Sword and Shield, and it's just like a big Pokemon, and somehow that worked. And sometimes they were really cute too. Like the Snorlax has some changes to him. Like he was like so large, and you like a tree on him and stuff like that. Bad gimmicks. We've got future and past Pokemon. So they take the legendary cats and they turn them into dinosaurs, and it's just like, ooh, that's cool, whatever. They turned them into dinosaurs. It was all right. Didn't really make me jump out of bed and go, oh my God, I gotta eat it right now. You got like the future Pokemon. They're all robots. They have the worst names ever, Iron Treadmill and such. Yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling Scarlet Violet Pokemon designs at all, or the Pokemon gimmicks for this season. And so we gotta get to the next one right away. Gen 10 or whatever it'll be. The booster packs had a change. So there were some changes to the cards themselves. The triple holo, so stupid. I hate it so much. I can't express how much I hate the triple holographic cards we got here. Right here, see? So we got the triple holographic cards. every pack, what it effectively did, by being more generous, you actually destroyed the value of the holographic cards Pokemon. You destroyed the value of them. Because it used to be you'd get maybe a reverse and a holo. Maybe you would just get a reverse. You know, maybe the reverse spot was filled in. You would only get a holo or maybe nothing at all. And the reason that's important is because the fewer holographic cards there are, the more like a hit that they are. You know what I mean? Like Unified Minds has really good-looking Giratina in it. Well, you pull the Giratina, and if it grades 10, you can actually kind of sell that. That's actually a nice looking. It's like a collectible. But when there's 3 holographic cards in every pack, they're so common, there's no chance that they would ever be collectible. No way. Plus, on top of that, all of the overprinting, correct? And then the silver borders. At first, I didn't really care. I was like, oh yeah, Pokemon's gonna have silver borders for Sword and Shield. Cool, man. It'll be like the Japanese cards. It'll be fun. I was ready to try out a change. I've tried the change now. Hate it. I want the yellow borders back. We were opening like some Sword and Shield, some Sun and Moon. Yellow borders came back out. I'm like, man, the yellow borders are just better. They feel like the Pokemon nostalgia. Maybe that's because I'm a boomer. Maybe the young kids don't care. But yeah, silver borders, I'm tired of them now. I don't like them. Too many hits in the booster pack. So Pokemon's got this thing going with the illustrated rare. They did that with like Cosmic Eclipse. Cosmic was a big hit. And it had like the trainer art gallery or something like that. And they've been experimenting with that this whole time. I feel like at this point, there's a sort of like power creep to the amount of things you pull out of a booster box. You open a booster box, you come out with like 30 different hits, and you're like, is any of this valuable now? I mean, there's too much of it. So I wish Pokemon had a card in the set that actually felt really hard to pull. I'm not feeling that anymore. And then Van Gogh is a perfect example of overprinting. You had the Van Gogh Pikachu, gray felt hat Pikachu. He was cool, and then they printed a bazillion of them. But when they didn't have a bazillion of them, it was like disgusting how people fought over him. So yeah, that's the downside. I don't know what to think about that. Tell me what your thoughts on. Do you think is overprinted? Topic number 4, cards overall falling in price. The best cards are holding price. Okay, so this is my thoughts about the market right here. I watch so many cards. So many of them. That's my job, is to see the market. And what I am generally seeing, well, there's a lot of small nuances in there, right? Like you can talk about how the most expensive gigantic Charizards have definitely fallen in price, except for maybe the base set Charizard, which does look kind of like he's fallen a little bit. But so these unaffordable cards, these cards that are like $10,000 or more, did not do well. You would think maybe they would just keep climbing, but no, there's just not enough big, rich, wealthy guys in the hobby who want to go, yeah, I want to spend $25,000 on Charizard. Not enough of those guys. Some of those guys do exist. I think I'm one of them. And there's just not enough of them. So really, really expensive cards have like this pain point, this price point that regular hobbyists just cannot hit. And those cards have not done well. But then there's cards that are like highly desirable, but also kind of cheap and also kind of rare. Those are doing very well. You even see price increase on some cards. Like I think I just bought one actually. Look at this lovely Tyranitar. Check this out. Don't know if you can see it very well. It's okay. It's backwards. Beautiful from Unseen Forces. Great card. Cards like this still doing pretty well. You see the price increase gradually. It's nothing like 2019, 2020 where they tripled in price. When you could buy, you know, first edition Dark Dragonite for like $500 as a PSA 10. That's not a thing anymore. But you could get them and they slowly go up in price. They do. Until they reach this sort of like pain point for the typical buyer, which I think that pain point's just around $3,000. $3,000 is very hard for a lot of people. But $1,000 or less is not that hard. But you are seeing a lot of cards fall in price, in particular cards where it turned out that they weren't rare. And I've talked about this many times. I warn my audience all the time about this one when we're live. Population matters. It might be the single most important metric. You could argue popularity is equally important, but I think, yeah, I think for me, the most important thing is population. Like I'll actually take a look at a Pokemon that's kind of niche, maybe Weeping Bell or Vigoroth. There's some weird thing that people typically would not purchase. And if the population's really low and the art's good, I'll still consider buying it. Vigoroth obviously is not very popular, but what you find is that if it's really rare, it doesn't really fall in price either. That's because there's a lot of control over the price between you and the other 20 guys who own the Vigoroth. I've got one. I just listed it on eBay. The price has done well over time. He's not a popular Pokemon, but he's... Do I have him sitting? I don't think I have him sitting over there anymore. I just listed him up on eBay. But his price has done well over time because even though he's not popular, there's just none of them. But we're seeing prices overall fall when I go back to earlier eras like Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and I don't know about Scarlet Violet. I haven't messed with too much Scarlet Violet, but when I look back on those older periods, those cards have not really performed as an asset. Those compared to the stock market, like just the S&P 500 ETFs, or maybe you bought Nvidia in time, maybe you bought some Bitcoin when it was at 45 earlier this year, maybe like Google stocks. A lot of these mediocre cards did not do very good, but some of the best cards are still doing well or just hanging on to their value, unless they were the really expensive cards, in which case they have collapsed a little bit. So card prices are, you know what I mean? They're not great. Number 5. Market saturation is insane because Pokemon competitors offer more. Okay, so let's talk about the competitors a little bit. So in this topic, we're going to talk about some of the problems Pokemon has where they're not implementing any innovations. So not only is Pokemon not implementing any innovations in the artificial rarity of their cards, they actually got rid of what they had in the past when I was a big collector, and many other people were too. Back in the past, you had first edition Pokemon cards, right? So you first edition Dark Charizard holographic, it was super awesome. They don't even have that anymore. There's no first edition Pokemon anymore. So what other companies are doing, you've got signature cards. For example, Weiss Schwarz, one of the biggest winners, in my opinion, is Weiss Schwarz. And they do signatures, and they're killing it right now. They're doing so well with signatures. Final Fantasy. I have most recently started selling a lot of Final Fantasy cards. That's because 3 sets, Hidden Hope, Resurgence of Power, and what is the last one called? Something Nightmare. From Nightmare. They have signature cards in them now. And voila, everyone's buying them up. So, and it's hard to restock them because I don't think they printed enough. But yeah, the Final Fantasy is selling because it's got signatures, and Weiss Schwarz sells so good. I have made so much money just selling Weiss Schwarz cards in a way that people feel like, oh man, I can trust this guy to have quality product. And, like eBay, it's going to be picked through product unless you start buying it by the case, I guess. But yeah, so people like to come here and go looking for Weiss Schwarz signatures, and they need to do that for Pokemon. Could you imagine if Pokemon cards had like the voice actor signature for like Gengar or Charizard or some crazy thing like that, or maybe like the signature of the original artist, or who knows? All of that would be amazing. But not just that, numbered cards, or serialized cards. Sports has had this for a long time. Sports has signatures for a long time as well. Sports has numbered cards. So you can have like, an unnumbered card for the kiddies or people who just want to play the game, and still insert some kind of rare like numbered card for the collectors. Why hasn't Pokemon implemented this yet? There's no first edition, there's no signatures, and there's no numbered cards. So Pokemon, not only do I not like the Scarlet Violet era, not only do I think it's terrible, not only do I think it's overprinted, but they just don't offer anything new or exciting with their cards. It's kind of frustrating as a collector. Like, first of all, I'm a card shop, but I also am a pretty legit collector. I collect a lot of Pokemon cards. I just bought that Tyranitar I showed you on screen, and this really expensive Gyarados as well. And I wish I could do that more with the modern stuff, and I just don't want to because it's a poor financial choice. So that's on Pokemon. So, but then One Piece, Weiss, a little bit of Dragon Ball, a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh, a little bit of sports. There's all these card sets. A lot of vintage stuff, actually. You can go backwards in time and go looking for like old cool card sets, and people will be happy to open those rather than modern Pokemon right now. Now, modern Pokemon has had Twilight Masquerade. It had the Gray Ninja in it. That seems to be doing pretty good. And it has this surprise card as of July. The illustrated rare Magikarp from Paldea Evolved is also doing well. So that's pretty fun. But overall, Scarlet Violet, I saw a decent chunk of classic collection in my unique way, the random pull box. You guys have seen that. So that's nice. And then we have 151, which sold well for a little while until Pokemon printed it into the ground. It's so disappointing. Very, very disappointing. So there's market saturation, not just because of the overprinting of the Pokemon cards, but because other printing companies are willing to offer the collector something worth chasing. Steamboat Willie from the Disney 100, celebrating their 100 years. Steamboat Willie card was amazing. And I think it's still like a $3,000 card. Come on, Pokemon. Where's our $3,000 modern Pokemon card to go crazy, going chasing after, go buy it off the... Maybe they don't want to do that. They're too pure or something. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Anyways. Number 6, vintage growing in population faster than we thought. Yeah, so turns out there's a lot of vintage left. That makes sense, doesn't it? And so one of the experiences I've had over these years is that, I had these rare vintage cards. They'd be like pop 100 or something. Now they pop like 200. And I think that affected their price quite a bit. I see a lot of stagnant, plateaued prices. And for, vintage cards that did not see a population increase, they're still going up. Or they were already really expensive and they're just holding that price because, again, there's like this price pain point where they don't like to go much higher because they just don't spend over $3,000 on cards, on a single card. So that's something I'm very mindful of, these price points. But yeah, vintage cards, especially a lot of Japanese cards, really grew in population very rapidly over time. In 2024, will that continue to happen? Well, I think it basically is. I think there's kind of like this scramble to open a lot of vintage and get it all graded. And you're seeing these prices, these really high prices on vintage sealed product. And I think between 2019 and now, there's been this huge, I called it like a reawakening of people back in the hobby, opening packs, opening these vintage packs, getting them graded by PSA. That's a finite thing if you think about it. There's going to be a point where you're not going to have this era anymore where people are grading lots of vintage Pokemon anymore. That's going to kind of end. They'll move on to black and white era. They'll move on to the XY era. They'll move on to even Sun and Moon era. But right now, plenty of the old WotC stuff up to Sky Original is still getting open. But these boxes, like the Rocket boxes, I can only find them for like $20,000 now, but I'm sure a couple more will sell for like 15, 16, but they're really getting up there. And so there will be a point where they don't get opened anymore. Fresh ones do not get graded anymore. And that concept I wanted to coin, that true population, will come out. I call it the true population because it's the total PSA 10 population of a card that will ever exist, which we don't know that yet until they're all graded, and that number will slowly climb, but it's going to really start creeping. So if it's shooting up since 2019, it's going to plateau as well. And I think the closer we get to that point, we will once again see movement in the vintage card prices because new freshly graded ones won't hit the market anymore. In the meantime, the accurate price of a card it really is reflected by the population. So if your card is like mine and went from pop 100 to pop 200, it's just not worth as much anymore. It's more common than you thought it was. So be careful with that. But I think a lot of the damage is done. It's been like 5 years. A lot of the damage is done. So again, I don't think it's going to be shooting up. The populations for vintage is going to be shooting up like it was in the last 5 years. I think that a lot of that's done. Okay, so for the future, I have a bear market perspective. I say this is a declining market. Expect massive card inflation. So, one of the things we've done on my channel is we drill a couple cards for fun. We got a very angry response about that. People did not like to see us drill cards. But, I wanted to do it because I wanted to point out to people how not rare the Pokemon cards were. They're really not that rare. There's so many of them. When Pokemon opens up a big printing press and printing facility and they start printing cards, they don't print like 10 of them. They print like 1 million of them, right? So expect massive card inflation over time. We're going to see true populations come out for vintage stuff after, 30 years. But, there's still so much to grade with the black and white and the diamond and pearl and heart gold, soul silver, XY era. There's so much to grade. And then there's the population for Scarlet Violet and the population for Sword and Shield. It's probably going to be staggering. forget it, dude. We have not scratched the surface of those cards. And I am scared about the booster box prices on a set of something like Evolving Skies, which has reached, I think, almost $700 for a sealed box. $700. It's only a couple years old, $700. So I am nervous about the price of something like that because it almost doesn't seem right. When you consider that there's like 12,000 graded PSA 10 Umbreon VMAX alternative arts. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with it, but maybe that's the correct thing. Maybe the market is correct. I've made my fortune on, figuring out what the market was wrong about and taking advantage of that, right? And maybe that's why you're watching. So I'm kind of hinting that for the amount of it that was probably printed, I'm uncomfortable with Sword and Shield. And the fact that I think they just reprinted Lost Abyss in Japan as well. That's not a good sign, man. There's going to be, that's terrible. Who knows if they reprint Eevee Heroes or something like that. I'm sure they're tempted, especially if they have bad card sales right now from the Scarlet Violet booster boxes, which I'm pretty sure they do. Because once those booster box prices are too low, they're going to be looking at a great part of the market is just people going, oh, holy smokes, if I can pull Umbreon VMAX alternative art out of Eevee Heroes, I can sell them for $1,000, right? So a lot of that was driving sales back in the day for Eevee Heroes. But now Eevee Hero prices are really high, and so people don't buy it anymore. The Pokemon printing press has already made its money from Eevee Heroes, and it can't make any more money from that. But so if Pokemon's looking at like its latest, like this stupid Night Wanderer, and they're going, why isn't anyone buying this? They might decide, you know what people were buying? Eevee Heroes. Let's print a little more of that. So all you guys hodling Eevee Heroes and stuff like that, you are taking a bigger risk than I'm willing to take because there's plenty of cool things to buy that they are definitely not printing, like the vintage poker cards. I made so much money on the vintage poker cards. I started collecting those when very few people were, and they are popular. We got this Gengar break right in front of me. He's half done in like 1 hour of one stream. He is half broke, meaning, it's a custom booster box with custom booster packs, and he pulls out of one of the packs. So he's half done in one stream. Poker cards have done extremely well, and I'm happy to be sitting on all those Charizards because I think they have potential to reach $3,000, of course. Anyways, expect massive card inflation, not just from Pokemon, but remember now Pokemon's in competition with Lorcana. It's in competition with all the other existing sets, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Final Fantasy, Weiss Schwartz, Sports, One Piece. Ooh, we got the One Piece, the new One Piece set, with the manga Nami in it, and she's got large breastistus, which also happens to be how Weiss kind of makes some of their money because they sell sexy girl cards. So for Pokemon, it's a declining market. For some of these new companies, not as bad of a decline. And I just think there will be a point where people own so many cards, they're going to be surrounded by this horde of cards, like somebody with too many pet cats, and they're going to be like, "What am I doing, dude?" Like they're gonna stop smoking the Pokemon weed, and then they're gonna go, what did I buy? Oh my God. And this will force them to sell, and too much supply will cause a declining market. And I do believe in the collecting nature of people. People love to collect, but it feels like a mess to me. It feels like a mess in a scary place right now. So I'm selecting my own cards pretty carefully, and what I'm actually looking for, well, I think I talk about this. Oh, actually, for topic number 7, when I'm talking about the future, I wanted to make another point. Overprinted cards are not a collectible. They are a toy. There's a difference between toys and collectibles. Collectibles can be toys, but not all toys are collectibles. So if you took Pikachu Van Gogh, everyone wanted it, right? And you print enough of them for everyone in the world to own 5 of them easily, he's not a collectible, he's a toy. That's a really important idea. Shows you how important that it is not to overprint. Pokemon, I think, is overprinting, my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong. Number 8, big picture. Prices will adjust. Yeah, I mean, Pokemon will get the signal that they're losing sales. So the amount that they print might reduce over time. They might become more competitive and bring out hotter sets. Like maybe they're purposefully not bringing out their best sets. Excuse me, maybe they're purposefully not bringing out, Umbreon and Rayquaza and all this cool stuff that we're not seeing. Like, we do have some Charizards, but they are dumb-looking Charizards. Maybe that's part of the problem with the Scarlet Violet Charizards is the gimmick, right? So we have a couple of terrestrialization Charizards, and they just look stupid. I mean, they look okay. I like the Obsidian Flame Charizard. He's my favorite, but he's not rare. So what's the point? Maybe if he had been a signature card, maybe if he had been a numbered card, maybe it had been first edition versus unlimited. Nope, none of those. So he's not rare. I don't want to collect him. He's a toy. But anyways, prices will adjust. Pokemon will see that their strategy is not working, and I think that they will improve in order to get their sales back up. Additionally, the slabs on the market, people will reach a point where they have saturated the market with the stuff they don't want anymore, and those prices will go way down, and then you'll just be able to buy what you want pretty cheap, but it's irritating at the same time because you realize the reason it's so cheap is because nobody wants it. So then you'll be looking at yourself in the mirror going, who am I? Do I even want this stuff? The basic demand is still there. Yes. So that's on my notes. And what I'm saying is that what drove us to this point in the first place from 2019 to now is still true. There's still a lot of real nostalgia. That's one of the problems for MetaZoo was that there was no real nostalgia for MetaZoo. The prices were outrageous. The whole thing was ran by so small of a group that you had no guarantee that it would be persistent and not collapse like the moment one bad thing happens. But with Pokemon cards is people are it's the number one kid toy. You know, it's the number one card set. There was, you could argue Magic, I guess, which was out before Pokemon, but Pokemon did something that no one else ever did back in the 1999 2000s when they released the games, the TV show, and the cards together, and it was like this viral toy without the there was no internet, so how did virality? Well, was there internet? I can't remember, but there were no memes or whatever. And so it was this naturally occurring phenomenon where it went viral and everyone knew about it, changed everyone's life for a little while if you were young. So that's still there. The nostalgia is alive. And while it could be true that some of us have had our bite, our taste of the nostalgia, and then we're like, all right, I'm back out. Others are going, you know what? I'm going to keep stacking these booster boxes up. I'm going to keep stacking these slabs up, and I'm just going to own all of it. Got to catch it all, right? So I think that the demand for collecting always existed. That's why it was a good product in the 2000s, and that's why it's a good product today, all this time later. And yeah, so I just think that Pokemon needs to reduce overprinting, reintroduce first edition and numbered cards, and design some good freaking Pokemon so that we have something to go after for once. And as buyers and collectors, we have to be picky about what we actually believe is a collectible card. Okay, we have also maybe the next Pokemon game will be very good. I actually thought Scarlet Violet was not that fun to play. I played it. I didn't bother buying the DLCs. So, but maybe the next game, what is it, an XY era game, and it's based off of this concept of the Arceus kind of like offshoot is going to be one of those. Is that right? Legends of Arceus. So maybe that'll bring us very good Pokemon cards. New sets. So even before the new game comes out, there's a rumor that a Team Rocket set is coming out. There's potential with that, right? So, people always say, should I invest in 151? Should I invest in Paldea Evolved? Should I invest Twilight Masquerade? Maybe you should wait a little longer because the best Scarlet Violet set is probably still waiting to be released. That's my opinion. They have not brought out the big guns yet. And Pokemon tends to do this. There seems to be again, I started in Sun and Moon. There seems to be a cycle where they try to save the best for last for each era. Sword and Shield, they brought out V-Star Universe, which was subsequently ruined for the English collectors because of their stupid Charizard Premium Collection box. That made me so mad. But yeah, for the Japanese, it was really cool, I guess. They didn't have that problem. But they, at the end of the era, there were all these major cool sets coming out, like Fusion Strike and what was the Lugia set called? Silver something? I can't remember. So expanding holdings is my next topic, or not next topic, next note on the big picture topic. So I was very strict about only having Pokemon. Now I'm not so strict. Actually, one of my best performing sealed products recently, as funny as it sounds, was My Little Pony. I had 2 cases of the base set My Little Pony, and they went from $50 a box to about $250 a box in a year. So that's way better than Pokemon, most Pokemon sets, even Evolving Skies. I don't think Evolving Skies did that. Did it do that in the last year? It took a couple years for Evolving Skies to do that. My Little Pony just exploded just like recently. So it's a really impressive thing to be looking at. And so expanding my holdings to consider stuff like that it will be part of my quote-unquote investing strategy. And then open packs for fun. Guys, don't forget, it's not just about investing and trying to max out your monies. You're supposed to be entertained, you know. Like I opened up a pack of EX Sandstorm earlier, and I knew that, you know, with the pack like that, there was a fair chance that I just lose money on it. But it's not all about whether or not I make money opening a pack. I just wanted to open the pack. Sometimes you gotta let loose and enjoy yourself. That's, you know, like we have these breaks. Just come over here. You can jump in the break. It's just entertainment, you know. Uh, you pay to go to the movie theaters, for example, but it's an expensive entertainment in the end, isn't it? So open some packs for fun. Do enjoy yourself. Don't turn everything into an Excel spreadsheet. I do that as a business, but because, you know, I can't be losing money. That would be a very bad business. All right. Subject number 9, tight margins. Okay, so this is kind of my thoughts about other card shops. Card shops are going to have really tight margins and lower sales. That's my thoughts. Tight margins occur because the demand is down, the competition is up. Huge losses. I think that if a card shop were to make the wrong move, you're going to lose a lot of money. So this is scary. In the 2019 to 2021, you could buy virtually anything and it was going to do all right. Like even a badly performing asset will still sell through, and a badly performing asset will still go up. Nothing performed bad. It's just that some stuff performed better. In 2024, if you stock up on the wrong Pokemon item, you're dead. You just lost your capital, and that stuff is not going up at all. It's staying the same price for years. So that is the future for card shops and you know, us investor types. You make the wrong move, and you will see losses. It's going to be a lot more like crypto and the stock market now. Pokemon, I'm telling you, you could just grade anything, you could collect anything, and it just did well. That is not the case anymore. In fact, it's so not the case that the wrong move will actually cause you to lose hundreds to thousands of dollars. Okay, failing card shops. Yes. So failing card shops, when there's not tons and tons and tons of profits to be made, and you actually just have to be passionate about actual cards, you are not going to like this business as much, in my opinion. It's a business where you deal with customers who can sometimes be not the most socially well-adjusted customers. Maybe that's just true in general. So I don't want to take a funny jab, perhaps, at card collectors, because you meet some really considerate people who are just shy and nerdy. But I don't know. I just have this feeling like there is a aspect of the hobby where a lot of collectors are on the greedy side. What do you guys think? They're a little greedy. They're a little bit on the neurotic and maybe a little psychopathic side. I don't know. But I think that's why they end up becoming card collectors, because of instead of having normal relationships with people, they have no relationships or bad relationships, and then they turn to collecting items and having toys. So I do think there's an aspect of the hobby that exists in that regard. So, you know, as I was saying, you know, running a card shop, you run into all kinds of characters. So I do think a lot of card shops will fail when the hot money's not there anymore. As for people buying stuff like vintage packs and vintage boxes, which continue to be pretty good, like vintage stuff is not coming down in price. It goes up a little bit at a time, so it's not going up in price times 5 like the My Little Pony stuff. But yeah, vintage Pokemon, you know, it's going up a little bit. People keep opening it. But there's going to be more fakes, more tampered with packs. I recently got hit by a pack I bought, it was like a year or 2 years ago, from an Italian guy, and I didn't check it thoroughly enough when it arrived, and it just had fake cards, and it was a reseal pack. It was terrible. I just instantly lost $500. That could be you instantly losing $500 on the market. So, you know, if it happens to me, it can definitely happen to you. Fake boxes, scary stuff. I saw that Japanese box that PokeRev opened, and it was a fake Neo Genesis box. That's, you know, as everything gets more expensive, the temptation to fake a box goes up, and the damage of getting a fake box goes up as well. So, you know, it's no longer a $5,000 loss, it's a $20,000 loss if you can't get your money back. PSA dominant, that's just a little comment on the grading companies. I do like that PSA bought SGC. SGC is cool. But PSA is the dominant grading company at this point. I usually take a perspective where I say grade with everybody. Right now, I'm seeing, this is just based on my observation of prices and what you're getting on your returns. You know, getting CGC 10 gem mints, not pristines, gem mints. Man, if that gem mint had been a PSA gem mint, there's a big price difference. Now, the CGC pristines are really nice, but not so much nice that they make up for the loss on your CGC gem mints. And it's kind of the same with BGS. BGS continues to be held back by a problem where their 9.5s, people don't want 9.5, they want 10s. The BGS Black Label is still really competitive, which is interesting because CGC got rid of their perfect grade. So stupid. That was one of their best things. So they got rid of that. PSA is doing very good. They're the strong grading company right now. We watched fractional ownership die. It was an idea floated by, I'm sure it had been thought of many times before, but Logan Paul was kind of popularizing perhaps the concept in the Pokemon card market hobby, and never caught on. I don't think people will even talk about it anymore. So fractional ownership, not working out. Eye-watering prices for vintage. Yeah, just commenting how sad that is, I suppose. It's going to happen, guys. You're going to reach a point where, you know, you used to look at my Team Rocket booster pack prices and you go, that was so expensive. But it's going to be in the future one day, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, remember when Cardconomist sold the pack only for X amount? And you'll be, oh, I wish I'd opened more back then. And it's happening for everything. Like the Japanese Neo 4 booster pack, I used to be able to break one of those profitably for you guys, and it was expensive, but we could do it. Now, I was just asked to do a break on a Neo 4 pack, and I was like, this would just be stupid to do a break on. There's just no point, because my ability to restock them is gone. There's just none of them left. There's some Neo 4 Japanese packs left, but they're so expensive that I can either offer to break it for you on a loss or like a break-even scenario. Why would I do that? I mean, that's not what I'm in business for. So, you know, if I have to make some money on it, then I have to raise it over the price of my restock price. And if the restock price is outrageous, then the whole thing just sucks. So we're reaching that point where, you know, some packs won't be broken so often, and they're finite, guys. They ultimately are. It's like this thing you have to accept. They're finite. There's a finite number of Team Rocket boosters. We've been opening a lot of Rocket for fun. One day, we will be out of Team Rocket booster packs, and you just won't get to open that anymore. Let that sink in. Think about how bad that is. So, and then number 10. So instead of a top 5, you guys got a top 10. Okay, so subject number 10 is I'm waiting for the best Scarlet Violet set to quote-unquote invest. So I predicted that you should have bought Evolving Skies when it came out. I was telling that to a lot of people. I said, you need to stock up on Evolving Skies. And I was so right about that. I bought a bunch of cases for myself, and I was selling through them. Sadly, I shouldn't have sold. Man, if I had not sold through so many of them, I would be doing even better. But I think I managed to hold on to like 6 or 7 cases by the time they had flipped to their gigantic price. So, but I wish I'd kept more. It was, it's just a hunch what's going to blow up, but it was a pretty clear sign Evolving Skies was probably going to blow up. So I get credit for that because people are like, hey, that was some good advice. And now my advice right now is, again, I'm not seeing any modern sets from Pokemon that I'm stocking up on heavily. Like I have Classic Collection loaded up just because I think it's really cool. It's got those pretty Charizards in it. But I'm uncertain about that because the downside to the Classic Collection is that, every triple deck of them already definitely includes the Charizard. So I only bought so much of that. And then there's 151. I just think that the Charizard card, which is the most important card in the 151 set, is not that great. The English version of the set, once again, used the premium collections to pretty much ruin one of the best alternative arts, which was the Mew. I do like the metal cards. Premium collections having the metal cards is cool. And then, I just feel like the best is yet to come when it comes to Scarlet Violet. I don't know what they plan on releasing, but when it comes to buying up large amounts of cases or anything like that, I'm sitting on cash. I'm waiting for something good to come along, and then I'll buy a chunk of it and put it into inventory. And I might even limit how much of that I buy because I'm just very skeptical right now about what the future of the hobby looks like. It's a increasingly competitive, difficult, tight margin future, I think, where people are saturated with cards and they're going, wait a second, I don't want cards. I want to buy a home. And homes cost $250,000. I'm still picking out rare slabs like the Tyranitar from Unseen Forces because I hope to have one of the best card collections in the world. I think I already kind of do. There we are. But I can't truly say that because I still don't own a first edition base set Charizard. So somebody who wants to sell one of those, reach out to me. And maybe we'll make a trade because I don't think I'm going to want to pay cash for that. But I have other items that are liquid. And yeah, that's where we're at. I can speak a little bit about the economy itself. Bitcoin kind of dipping down to 50. I don't really know what to think of the crypto markets still. I still am uncomfortable with crypto markets, to tell you the truth. There's people who have made their fortune in crypto, and I like them. Come over here. If you like crypto and Pokemon cards, let me be your Pokemon card dealer. Crypto scares me a little bit. It's so speculative, but, you know, yeah, it's just a speculative thing. If I wait to buy crypto until it's a for sure thing, it'll be too late. I understand this concept very well, but it just makes me uncomfortable. It does. I enjoy the usefulness of it. See, that's actually a good thing for me to say about it. So like it does facilitate international sales for me, and that does impress me. So I like that, but I don't try to hold too much of it. I do have some stocks. There was a point where my Pokemon card collection got so large that I was like, I'm one hurricane away from losing it all. So, more recently, I do a little stocks, and I have my real estate properties, which I think have been a very good investment, actually. So I've had a couple real estates, and they're just going up in value as well. So uh, my thoughts right now are that Biden is probably not going to win the presidency if he even remains in the running. It looks like Donald Trump has a very good shot at becoming the president. And for social issues, people might bemoan that and be really upset about that. But from an economic point of view, he will very, very likely reduce the price of energy by getting rid of regulations and getting rid of like environmental protections. And the drilling companies will say, hey, this is a better environment from a law perspective for us to be drilling again. And here's our guy, Donald Trump. He's asking us to drill, 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 baby, drill. So they're probably going to get back to being productive with oil production, maybe the Keystone Pipeline and all that. And if the price of energy comes down, the price of everything comes down because people have been explained this many times. Fuel is important for everything. It just runs the whole world. Fuel runs the whole world. So when the price of fuel comes down, the price of everything comes down. And this alone could cause the stock market to improve. An end to the war with Ukraine. President Putin said he's ready to talk to Donald Trump about ending the war. The election's not even over, and he's already saying that. So, I'm sure he prefers Donald Trump because Donald Trump's always talking nice about him. So, yeah, you could see the economy get lifted after the elections. If it's a Republican win, if it's a Republican sweep, they kick everybody out of the Senate and Congress, and the presidency is handed over to Republican Donald Trump. You even if you hate him, even if you got an existential crisis about him, maybe you are scared for multiple reasons. All of that aside, the economy will probably lift. That's probably what will happen. And I don't think it'll be a huge transformation. I don't think it'll be like way, way better. But it's certainly better than going into maybe like a recession, which kind of feels like we're already in one. Like the stock market goes up, right? But I don't think it's going up because, people are becoming a lot wealthier and more productive. I think it's just going up because there's just all this leftover money, and it's got to roost somewhere. You know what I mean? And it's still really expensive to buy a home, and it's still really expensive to borrow money to buy a home. So it just doesn't seem right now. It seems like bad times right now. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on the prediction of the Pokemon card market for 2024. We're halfway through the year, and if you guys enjoy videos like this, you have to incentivize me to make more videos like this, or I will just spend more of my time working on the live streams and things that I do when I'm not live. All right, I'm the Cardconomist. I hope you had a great time. Hit that subscribe button. See you later, and don't forget to share the video.